Hello, everyone. My name is Rebecca Morton. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the artist and studio manager here at Baltimore Clayworks, and we are thrilled that you all have joined us. I would like to acknowledge that I'm joining from my office located on Piscataway and Susquehannock land, currently known as Baltimore, Maryland. It is my pleasure to welcome you to our virtual artist talk given today by Bailey Holley. Bailey is currently a short-term resident. Bailey is a ceramic sculptor and installation artist. In 2024, she received her BFA with an emphasis in ceramics from the University of Arkansas at Little Rock. She is one of 5 recipients of the 2024 Art Launch Grant through the Wingate Foundation. Her work has been featured in juried exhibitions such as the Big Gay Art Show in Sedona, Arizona, and the 2024 NCCA Student Juried Exhibition in Richmond, Virginia. Bailey received a short-term artist residency at Baltimore Clayworks during the summer of 2024. Her works are inspired by the facades of her childhood and the side effects of growing up in a dysfunctional home. For more information about our artist talks, please visit our virtual library at baltimoreclayworks.org, and I will now turn it over to Bailey.
Hi, everybody. My name is Bailey Holley, and I'm currently a short-term resident here at Baltimore Clayworks for the summer. This is my first ever artist talk, so thank you so much for joining me today with this. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, my childhood growing up in rural Arkansas, and just how that is coming through in my current body of work. So this slide is all about dress up and just sort of the facade of being able to dress up. I've always loved dress up games. I've always loved like playing in my mom or my grandmother's closet, even my grandfather's closet growing up. I watched a lot of America's Next Top Model as a child, and I've just always been very interested in the facade of like putting on an outfit or like a new accessory or new clothes or makeup and just sort of being able to become a different person or become anyone other than myself, really. And so this first image here is of me playing dress up as like a small child, maybe 2 to 3 years old. The second image is of me and my childhood neighbor friend. We grew up together. This was us like all dressed up for our first ever concert that we were going to together. So we were real excited about that. We've got our little mini skirts and crop tops on, which looking back is just kind of silly for the age that we were, but what can you do? We didn't know this at the time, but our stepfathers would go on to do drugs together, and that definitely keep that little nugget in your head for some work that'll come up later. This last image is a picture of me from 10th grade, and I was also playing dress up at this time. I was having a sleepover at one of my friends' houses. I'd recently shaved half my head, as you can see in the picture, and I was super excited to post that on Instagram and share it online. And I actually, while I was at that friend's house, I had to like flip my hair over and hide that side of my head because my friend's mom said that I was going to make her youngest daughter gay from just my haircut. So that was really crazy to wrap my head around. And that was one of the first instances I can really remember of just my body and my like choices of self-expression being perceived in a way that I guess was in some sort of negative light, where like I felt like I needed to hide parts of myself. And so some more backstory of this image. We had fun. We posted the pictures online the next day. And my friend was actually told that she had to take the pictures down because her mom said that the church was going to think that she was a whore. We were like 15, maybe 16 at this time. I want to say more like 14, 15. And so this was a really weird thing that was happening to like me and other girls in my friend group, where like as soon as we hit puberty, there's this inherent sexuality that was put upon us in our actions, even if what we were doing was not inherently sexual. I've been playing dress up since I was just a baby, wearing little tutus just as a baby, and like playing in my parents' makeup and doing all of these things. But suddenly after I hit puberty, when I did these things, it just had this like darkness over it and this sexuality that was put upon me. And my friends and I, we would get in trouble a lot for things that we were doing that we'd always done. And so I'm thinking a lot about that. I'm thinking about fashion in my work and just the sort of facade that fashion can bring. So for this slide, I wanted to show you all pictures of this dress that keeps reappearing in my work. This is a dress that I found at a Goodwill in the children's section when I was like 17. I was obsessed with this dress. It had these cute little daisy buttons on it that I thought were just incredible. I still think it's incredible. I wish I still had this dress, but I don't know where it is. But um, at this time in my life, I felt really out of control. I had a very chaotic childhood and just like teen years. And so one of the harmful coping mechanisms that I developed at that time was just basically starving myself, eating as little as I could get away with. And that felt like a sense of control to me. So at this time, I could basically control like what I put on my body and what I was wearing and the food that I was eating. And I was really excited to be able to fit into this child's dress as a 17-year-old, which is a little brain warping to think about now as an adult. But I think that that's why this dress keeps popping up in my work as sort of this symbol for the times in my life where I had zero control over my own well-being, even though I thought that I had a lot of control, or at least was trying to convince myself that I had a lot more control than I did. And so the first time I used this dress in my work can be seen here in this sculpture that's part of my BFA thesis exhibition from last year. This sculpture is called Defense Mechanism, and to me, it sort of resembles this like spiky caterpillar figure, you know, like this real spiky, scary caterpillars before they turn into a beautiful butterfly. And this sculpture is also this sort of symbol of like this protection of female sexuality. I think this is the first time I started using the nichrome wire spikes as a sort of like defense on my sculptures. When making this one, I was thinking a lot about masking and just the guards that I had to put up to survive my environments in my childhood. This figure also has a lot to do with queerness. In ninth grade, I had my first queer relationship. I had my first girlfriend, and I was dating her in secrecy. I didn't want anybody to know. I was very closeted, and I already just like had trouble making friends in school. I was like this unsocialized ADHD kid. So I was just like, I have enough problems without people wanting to make fun of me for that. So I kept it a secret for as long as I could, but eventually, you know, she told a friend, that friend told my entire school. And I basically got outed in the middle of a science class. And from then on, people started making remarks about how I was only dating a girl for attention. And there was this big rumor, and that was like the main thing that was commented on. And I just remember thinking at that age, like, I didn't want any of you to know about this, but suddenly I'm doing it for attention just because you all want to talk about it now. And so that was really wild for me to wrap my brain around at that age. And then after that, we eventually broke up as ninth graders do. And I had my first boyfriend. At that time, people started saying that actually I did like girls and I was actually a lesbian, and I was dating a boy as a cover up for all, I don't know, my lesbian crimes that I was committing. I'm not really sure. But that was also like just this crazy thing where I had to sort of like process as a young teenager that like, okay, well, first of all, I guess these people just don't like me, and that's the real issue. But also I just realized that so many people had different things to say about like my own sexuality that I was trying to figure out myself, and forming all these opinions and thoughts when it's like I didn't even have that many thoughts about it at that age. I was just trying to be. And so yeah, this piece is just sort of a protection of that, and a protection of the parts of myself that like I realized at that age was just absolutely nobody's business. So I'm thinking a lot about that whenever I look back at this piece. This is one step at a time, and with this piece, I'm thinking a lot about like gender identity, body dysmorphia, and just how my body's been perceived by others and how that's like been vocalized all my life. I grew up in a household where body hair on women was definitely something that was like seen as gross, or like something to be ashamed of, or something that like you can fix and get rid of very easily. I started shaving my legs in second grade, just because I was so anxious about being perceived as just unkempt or gross or any of these things that I'm just like, that's crazy. That's sad. But anyways, so I made this sculpture, and it took me like 11 hours of just cutting nichrome wires and pricking my freaking fingers when I'm putting them into the clay. And this is just sort of a symbol of self-defense. Once I got into my 20s, I started just not shaving my legs so much and growing out my armpit hair, and I started realizing that when I did that, it became sort of this like soft shield towards people that I didn't want to talk to me anyway. And I realized that like if I posted a picture on Instagram, but you could see my hairy leg on it, like I was way less likely to be hypersexualized. And it was actually more likely that I would like turn some people off of like wanting to communicate with me. So that was really interesting to me because then I was like, oh, well, I didn't want to talk to these people anyway if they were going to respond in such a way. So body hair definitely became this form of defense, and I started using the nichrome wire as a way of showing that. Um, let's see. Oh, also, this piece, One Step at a Time, is going to be featured here at Baltimore Clayworks. So if you're here locally, it will be part of the ISMS exhibition that's coming up. It'll be here from September 7th through October 26th. So I would love to talk with anybody about this. This is one of my favorite pieces to show in person because people usually like want to touch it, but they know it's going to hurt if they do. It can also be really fun for me showing this to people that like, I don't know, people either really like this sculpture or they're like really grossed out. And that's always fun for me to get that reaction of like, I don't know, I've had people come in the studio and bring their like sister who brings their boyfriend in, and the boyfriend's like, oh my God, that's so gross. I'm so glad you don't do that, babe. And I'm just like, this is why I'm making this. Thank you. Thank you so much for like pretending to throw up right now. I love it. So anyways, this will be on display. Please reach out to me if you would like just like a personal interaction with this. I'd love to show it to you in person in Baltimore. This piece is called Lizard Brain, and this has just like so much repetition and is really just like the most sculptural embodiment of my ADHD that I think I've put out into the world so far. I'm really able to like hyper focus when I do all of these like millions of dots and all of this line work that's being carved in on like the back of the head. And I'm just able to enter a flow state. A lot of times when I'm doing these dots or these lines, I'm either like super focused on that and I'm not thinking about anything else. I just like have my music on, or I'm doing that and I'm like processing all of my childhood and all of like my memories and just trying to like focus and keep it going. This piece is also a symbol for me of just like all the overprescriptions and unnecessary medications that I was on in my lifetime. From 12 to 24 years old, I was prescribed like so many different antidepressants or like insomnia medications or eventually ADHD meds, which I did need, but I was also prescribed like extra like downers or extra insomnia meds from like not being able to sleep at night and just like so many medicines. There was at one point I was prescribed like 6 pills a day, which I absolutely did not need. And now that I'm an adult, I can see that more clearly. So one of my favorite memories from this time of like getting off of all those medications is when my undergrad professor, Kitsuke Yamada, he came up to me and he was like, you're building different. You're building differently since you got off your medications. And we started talking about it. And eventually we were like, I need to change my major. This was pretty crazy at the time because I had already changed my major like 6 different times and tried like every art medium under the sun. But I really just, I can't imagine where I'd be right now had I not changed my major to ceramics. And so this was like a very pivotal moment for me of just realizing the hyper focus that I was able to interact with when I get into the ceramic studio that I've never felt with any other medium. I definitely feel like I'm able to just speak much more freely through this material. And it just meant a lot to me that my professor was able to see that. So for that reason, this will always be like one of my favorite pieces I've ever done. This piece, I titled it Lizard Brain to sort of reference this like primal itch that can propel someone to like be interested or move forward with something. And I feel like when I'm doing my dots or my line work, or when I'm really just working with clay in general, I've got that lizard brain, that just motivation to move forward, which can be extremely hard for people with just any sort of attention deficit disorder to find. It can be really hard to be motivated to do a lot of different things. And so it's really exciting for me to be able to work with a medium that I don't have to fight against, I guess. So this installation is called Get Ready With Me, and this was part of my capstone display in undergrad. I was thinking a lot about gender performance, growing up on the internet, and just sort of the act of becoming a character. I definitely used the computer as a form of escapism as a child. When I wasn't like playing dress up in real life, I was often playing dress up games on the computer and creating little avatars and little lives for them to live, and just any way of creating a different version of myself that I could live through. Um, and so I'm thinking about that a lot with this piece. I'm referencing the Windows XP background that I grew up with the cloud tapestry and the AstroTurf background. Here's a close-up of the main figure in this installation that I call She's Just a Girl. And this is sort of just the embodiment of waking up in an overstimulated, chaotic world and just trying to figure out like, okay, what am I gonna do today to feel like a normal human girl? Do I need to take my meds? Do I need to put on a tiara? Do I need to dye my hair again? Like what do I need to do? And honestly, I still don't know. I'm not sure how to be what is a normal human girl, but I'm working through it. These are some of the cat sculptures that were also on that same AstroTurf bed. And they're titled OMG, I Feel Like a Pink Flower, and I Deserve a Little Treat. I've always been super fascinated with cats. I currently own 5 cats at home. I never meant to own that many, but that's just the life I'm living. I remember in like 2005 or 6 being on YouTube, and I would just search cat videos and watch them for hours and hours and try to get my family to watch them with me, but no one was ever as interested in watching cats like I was, which, you know, what can you do? But I've been thinking about like my compulsion to make cats, because sometimes I go into the studio and it's like I'll set out to make something and I end up making this little cat baby. And so I've been researching like the impact of cats on the internet, and I read a quote from the New York Times that said that cat pictures are actually like a fundamental building block of the internet today. I thought that was just a cute little sentence because I feel like cats are a fundamental building block to my own happiness. So that's fun. Um, a little Easter egg for I Feel Like a Pink Flower. That cat actually has yellow flowers on it, but if you turn it around on its little butt, it's got this little pink flower butthole. And so this piece is actually titled I Feel Like a Butthole. Which just goes back into just, you know, this facade of waking up and feeling gross and feeling like, I don't know, just awful and trying to just put on something cute and shiny and just go through the world in a better mindset. This is from my undergrad thesis. This is an installation titled What Do You Want From Me? And I was exploring dynamics formed between me and the children that I grew up with. As I said in my second slide, me and several of my friends grew up around like adults struggling with addiction. We grew up dealing with issues of like neglect or just parents that like had a lot of self-hatred that got reflected onto us. And so I was just thinking about like these little societies that we formed as children, trying to move through the world as tiny adults, and just like what that looked like. And it honestly, it didn't look great. There's a lot of just like ideas of hurting people, and just we're all trying to like be something that we're not, and just like trying to figure out how to play, but we didn't have a normal childhood that ensured we would be able to do that. And so that's what I'm exploring in this body of work, is just my childhood dynamics among me and the friends that I had that were also from like similarly disrupted homes. So this is the last thing that I made in undergrad, and I called this installation While They Were Sleeping. This was actually an interactive installation where I invited the viewer to come take these little ceramic pills that I made out of this like little computer screen, which is functioning, I guess, as like a litter box, since there's a cat inside there pooping these pills out. This piece was inspired by the time that I spent on like so many different medications, and also during that time, I often had to keep my medicine in a lockbox, just so that my meds wouldn't get stolen by either like family, friends, friends of family. Like there was a lot of loss, whether that be from just like my childhood in general, or from like physical things being taken, or just from like a loss of innocence, and just a lot of things like that are what I'm thinking about when I was making this installation. And part of the reason I wanted to make so many of these pills and just have them like free for people to take was as a way of just like letting go of all the anger and resentment that I feel like my inner child holds on to when thinking about these times in my life. I also just really enjoy creating scenes that parallel the absurdity of the things that I grew up around. I feel like I saw just like a lot of crazy things growing up, and I really enjoy creating scenes that parallel that now in my work. This is just another image of, you know, the same similar sculpture or the same sculpture. I just kind of organized it like this because I thought this was a really cute picture. And I just kind of like, I don't know, sometimes my sculptures turn into like my little personal toys that I can just kind of organize and play with. If I had to rename this setup as it is, it would probably be like shit you said on the internet. Just because, as we all know, people get on the internet and will just say the craziest things that they possibly can. And that's sort of what I feel like is happening as this cat like just poops onto his little keyboard. It's like, what's he talking about? What's he thinking? Probably nothing good. So what's next? I'm here at Baltimore Clayworks through the end of September, and this is some of the work that I've been making. I'm still making my little cat figures, and I'm making more like human sculptures and figurative work as well. I'm trying to just make as much as I can. This little cat to the left right here is titled Kissing and Screaming. And so it's got this one little face kissing, this other little face screaming. And so I'm just thinking about the duality of emotions and just this like bottled up feeling of like wanting to be enraged, but also feeling really sweet and sentimental when I think about my childhood. So yeah, I'll be here through the end of September, and then I'm going back to Arkansas where I'm going to keep on working on this body of work. I sometime in 2025, I'll have a group show with my other fellow grant winners. I won the Art Launch grant this year, and that is helping me be here and pay for my current residency here in Baltimore. And part of that is having a group show with the other winners in 2025. So I'm excited to get that show going. So thank you so much. If you have any questions, please stick around to ask them. And if you would like any more information about just like upcoming events or my past works, please visit baileyjholley.com or bailey.j.holley on Instagram. So yeah, thank you so much.